has taken great strides to sort out its energy security and move away from its traditional source of hydropower. We've seen efforts, for instance, at geothermal power investments. There's talk of solar and wind power. How far advanced are these efforts?
Well, they are doing very well in a way, in that they have seen the problems will persist, and they have already set up a committee for looking into how they can start off nuclear power, probably within the next 10 years or so. And that is a good stride, because when you look at other renewables like wind, solar energy, we are doing also very well. The implementation is there. But of course, the efficiency of these energies is not very well. Secondly, Kenya is, you have to realize that Kenya is totally dependent on agriculture. The variability in climate is a big problem. The water is receding, and you can see the signs when you look on top of Mount Kenya and Kilimanjaro. The old 3 decades ago, we could see the ice sheet very well. Today, we see quite not very much. Secondly, the pastoralist region, most of it is becoming a desert. And the population, both of animals, both within the pastoralist, the human population is increasing, the arborad is decreasing.
Right.
We have destroyed quite a number of our environmental sources. The water catchment region, the underground water is receding, so hydropower cannot be a very reliable source in the future.
So obviously, with climate change starting to have a significant bearing, it's important to pursue alternatives. It's been said that Kenya has taken the greatest strides across all Africa in the area of wind energy, for instance, and that 2012 should be the scheduled start of a wind farm in Lake Turkana that could provide something like 300 megawatts into the national grid. Just talk to us about those efforts and the degree to which there's been collaboration between the government and independent power producers.
Yeah, it's a good stride, like I said, when you are developing wind power and solar power, but the efficiency still remains because the demand for Kenya power, for electricity in Kenya is very high. And when you consider other alternatives, you find you end up now becoming a problem to climate change. And as a result, it's a give and take. These things have to go parallel. With the stride they have taken in nuclear power, the stride they have taken in solar energy and wind power around Turkana region is good strides, but 300 megawatts, 600 megawatts is really very retro with what Kenya needs. Mind you, 70% of the population of Kenya lives in the rural area, and they don't see electricity at all, and they depend on wood, destroying the forests, the water catchment regions, and so forth.
Okay.
So it's a complex problem which is being addressed.
Let's chip away at it in small blocks. Last year, when the former Brazilian President Lula visited Kenya, there were pledges for cooperation in the area of biofuels. The Brazilians would bring their expertise and technology, and the Kenyans would rely heavily on the comparative advantage in agriculture, which you so eloquently described. What do you make of those efforts?
Well, those efforts are still going on, and not only that, we have students all over the world in different parts of the world who are studying bioenergy and how we can use it from we can use it through agriculture, because it will activate agricultural production, and it will also make activities for younger people, and the future of research is in that direction also. So it is not only wind, solar, and so forth.
Right.
We are also looking at biodiesel and so forth.
You mentioned nuclear a few times, and certainly in South Africa, it is one of the foremost options that are being considered by the Department of Energy. It's cheaper, ultimately, but the capital expenditure that's required for research, for development, is exorbitant. And we've reached a point where the government just cannot keep on pumping money into these projects, and the motivation for investors isn't there because of the capital expenditure required. What's the approach in Kenya?
Well, the committee will definitely come up with the insights and the technicalities involved. But from my own professional point of view, with the efficiency, current efficiency in wind and solar energy, we should have these energies in parallel, and pumping initial capital investment is definitely very high. But thereafter, you get the benefits. Because like now, how much Kenya get from the electricity? Look at the drought system. What does it cost? What did it cost Kenya in 1998 and to 2000 when we had a very big impact and we had to import a lot of petroleum to produce electricity to drive the few industries which are there? What about if we increase?
Right.
These are things we have to consider.
Okay, you mentioned the fact that about 70% of Kenyans are still out of the loop in terms of accessing the national grid. The government, through its Vision 2030, is trying to address this. So firstly, your views on the timetable they've set themselves. But secondly, how much do Kenyans pay per average household for kilowatt-hour of electricity? Because we're told that in rural areas it's somewhere between $10 to $15 per month, and that's still very expensive. So with more investments, it's inevitable that the prices will go up.
Exactly. It's inevitable the process will go up because of the old years non-planning of this kind of crisis, and the drought system has been there for quite some time. And if Kenya is going to develop and bring up its own people, it has to look for cheaper energy indifferently. The fact that power like nuclear power requires initial high capital investments does not mean that in long term you get it cheaper and you supply more people more efficiently, and you're able to drive the industry with a stable energy while we continue developing wind power. Because obviously there is the weakness of in nuclear power because of the waste management, which requires top-notch security and so forth. But still, we cannot be scared of all this if we have to sustain the economy in growth, and we have to achieve what we are aiming for.